talk about Spill with the Boys, we've now got another Christmas movie for people who don't like Christmas movies. It's a little tenuous, this one, because it's set at Christmas, but it certainly isn't about Christmas. But there's enough fairy lights and Christmas trees to qualify it as a Christmas movie. And we are talking about 2008's In Bruges, which isn't a horror movie. I didn't want to do all horror movies on this thing because it's too easy. And you might not like horror movies, but you might want a Christmas movie that isn't particularly, we must save Christmas. So 2008's In Bruges was directed by Martin McDonagh, and Martin McDonagh, this was his debut film. He was director of stage, still is, but this was his first foray into movies, and it stars Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson and Ralph Fiennes, and it's hilarious. It's ridiculously funny, this film. It is violent, and if you're not one for bad language, this really isn't the movie for you, because honestly the F-bombs flow quite freely in this one, along with some other more colourful language. But it's a hell of a movie, and it's a really strange one, because what should be a horrible film is actually got quite a lot of heart to it, and it's actually quite sweet in parts. It's an odd movie, but it's a good movie, and I've got a particular affection for it. I'll tell you what the movie's about, and I'll tell you why I've got this affection for it. The movie starts with Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson play two hitmen that are in hiding in Bruges from a job that's gone terribly wrong in Ireland. So they've just done a hit. Ray, who is Colin Farrell, has done his first hit for their boss, who's Ralph Fiennes, Harry, and made a terrible mistake, bad. So they've been advised to go to Bruges to lay low. So Ken, who's Brendan Gleeson, is basically his minder. He's the one to look after him, and they're told to go there and wait for further instruction. So they arrive in Bruges and wait, and they're told not to go anywhere, not to do anything, just stay in the hotel room. And Ray is the younger of the two, and he gets quite bored, quite antsy, and pretty soon discovers that he hates Bruges, can't stand it, because it's just not for him. Now, Bruges is a beautiful place. The architecture is magnificent. It is gorgeous, and as Harry, that's Ralph Fiennes, the movie describes it, it's like a fairy tale, like something off a chocolate box. And it is. I've been there. But Ray gets very bored. It's not for him. This isn't his idea of a good time. Bruges is not his idea of fun. And this is why I relate to this movie. A long time ago, when I was in, it was kind of school. I was in the sixth form. I was 17 years old. We went on a trip with the school we were going to France and Belgium. And me and a mate, who will remain nameless, went out drinking. We weren't supposed to, but we went out drinking. We were 17. You could legally drink in France at 16 at this point. They didn't change that until I think it's 2000. I think now it's 18. But it used to be you had to be over 18 to drink spirits. Anything, they were it was kind of free reign on everything else. What they referred to as fermented alcohol, which was like wine and lagers, you could just drink. So we went out. We weren't supposed to, but we went out. And my friend was fluent in French, so we went out drinking in France. And to cut a long story short, we didn't come home. I look terrible in this. We met two barmaids. We never came home. We came home the next morning, and the teacher that was in charge of us was losing his mind. He went absolutely insane. And rightfully so. I look at it now as a responsible adult, and I get it, but we were no obligation to be at school at this point. This was all optional secondary education, higher education. But he went nuts, so we got punished. And the punishment was that we weren't allowed to do any of the activities at all when we got to Belgium, which was Bruges. So when we got to Bruges, we had to stay in the hotel room. And we went out of our minds. Like, genuinely, it was the most boring 2 days I've spent, I think, possibly in my life. And even though Bruges is beautiful again, at 17 years old, when you're all wired up and just full of, testosterone. Bruges ain't for you, right? It's not. So then add the fact that you're locked in a hotel room. When I saw this movie, it just took me straight back to that. I'm like, Jesus, I've lived this. So I completely get it. But it is a ridiculously funny movie. Now, the revelation, spoilers, I mean, it came out in 2008, but spoilers, is that Ken gets the call from Harry that they're not there to hide out. Ken is going to have to kill Ray. For the mistake that he made, that's the order. You are going to have to kill Ray. And the reason why they've been sent to Bruges, and this is the irony, is Harry wanted to give him a nice send-off. So he sent him to the best place he could think of, which was Bruges. Unfortunately for Ray, it's the worst place he could have sent him, and it's like being in purgatory for him, which is apt, because essentially that is what they're going through. This is their purgatory. And it's just a gorgeous movie, it really is, because Ken doesn't want to kill Ray. Ken doesn't want to still be a hitman anymore. This isn't what he wants to do. He doesn't like Harry, who's his boss. He's jaded by this life. You find out that he's lost his wife fairly recently. He doesn't know why he still does this, and he sees no sense in killing Ray. He doesn't see what that fixes. It doesn't fix what happened. It's just another body. So he doesn't want to do it. So he tries to show Ray a good time in Bruges, and that's where a lot of the humour comes from. Here's some stills from the movie. So bless Ken, he tries. He tries to show Ray a good time, you know. And there's a funny scene in it where he tells him we can go to the museum and we can see there's a vessel that's supposed to have the blood of Christ in it, and there's artwork from the Renaissance, and he really sells it to Ray, and Ray looks at him and goes, do I have to? It's like, no, you don't have to. You don't have to do anything. He's like, yeah, do I have to? And it's just that. It's just none of this is the worst place you could have brought me. And it's just so funny. And there's amazing scenes in it, really funny scenes. Harry writes a letter to Ray, and literally every other word in it is F. But you hear the letter read out by Ralph Fiennes, who of course was Voldemort, and it's just funny as hell when you read this letter. And it's like, I'm sick and effing tired of every effing time I call it your effing hotel. You ain't effing there. I'm effing while coming over there, and effing was, and it's hilarious. And it's just a gorgeous movie. And they meet strange people whilst they're over there. There's a film company that are making a movie kind of like a Midsummer Night's Dream. So there's very sort of trippy imagery going on in the background. And they clash. Ray clashes with a Canadian tourist who thinks it's American. There's an amazing scene in it where he punches that Canadian and goes, "That's for John Lennon." It's like, no, that would be an American. But it's a great movie. If you like a creative insult, it's full of them. Ralph Fiennes is hysterical in this as kind of like the Eastern mob boss, Harry. Really funny. There's a scene where he arrives in Bruges and goes to his armory where he can buy guns, and he's offered dum-dums, which are kind of explode in bullets. And it's just this whole, I shouldn't really, but he really wants them. It's so funny. And they all have their own sort of code of ethics and morals, and what would have been right for what Ray did, what Ray should have done, is what Harry believes is that Ray has done the wrong thing after the incident. I won't tell you what it is. After the incident, he thinks Ray should have shot himself there and then. He thinks Ray should have just took his own life immediately. And that's Harry's ethics. Like, you do that, you take your own life. That's the way. There's no two ways about it. That's boom. And that pays off in the movie. But you can see that Ken cares. Ken doesn't want to see Ray lose his life. He certainly doesn't want to be the one that pulls the trigger. So you can see this is going to come to a head. And with Harry arriving in Bruges, the three of them are going to get into it. and it's a spectacular movie. It is funny as hell. If you've not seen it, I cannot recommend this movie enough. And again, I have a deep affection for it because I lived it. There was no shootout, but I certainly spent 2 days bored out of my goddamn mind in a hotel room in Bruges. So I've been to Belgium, but I've seen nothing of it. Literally nothing. We were grounded in the hotel. In the scheme of things, was spending the night with French barmaids worth it? 100%. 100%. But yeah, So I've got a particular affection for In Bruges. I remember it fondly for all kinds of reasons. But it's a wonderful film. It really is, and it is set at Christmas. It's a Christmas movie, so you do have the snowfall and the Christmas trees and the Christmas music. But it's darker fare than everything else that's on offer. And again, in a world of Home Alones and elves and God knows what else, which have their place as family viewing, they're great, but you know, it can't be Love Actually every year, can it? You need something else. You need a lot more in your repertoire. So that is my recommendation for this week. That's 2008's In Bruges, which I believe is available on Sky Movies. I believe it's also available on Amazon Prime. So you do have options. It also does the rounds on Film 4 quite a lot. So if you don't have access to Sky Movies or Prime, look out for it, because around about this time of the year they do screen it on Film 4 and also Channel 4 as well, and it is well worth your time. It is an absolute tour de force from all of the actors in it. Colin Farrell's fantastic in this. Colin Farrell made this coming back off his kind of disgrace. If you can remember, Colin Farrell very much fell out of favour with everyone in Hollywood in the mid-2000s. And this one was kind of his first one back. And yeah, he's absolutely superb in it. If you've never really rated Colin Farrell, watch this movie. And you can't deny he is absolutely fantastic in it, and he's hysterical. It went on to create quite a lot of memes and gifs. There's one of him in a museum where he's sort of looking confused, and I've seen it used a few times on sort of Facebook and places like that, where someone says something a bit, ooh, he's got this whole... And it became one of those. But it's an amazing movie. I don't want to tell you too much about it without spoiling it. So all I can tell you, if you are looking for kind of an action comedy that's got heart, set at Christmas, but is very, very kind of sweary and also violent, give it a go. Honestly, it is absolutely the best. And it's one of the best Christmas movies that isn't about Christmas that you can see. That's all for this one. We've got one more to go for Christmas week, but we will be back. And the next one is not a horror movie again. So the next one isn't a horror movie. We've only done 2 horror movies. The next one isn't. So you've got 2 horror movies. You've got 2 movies that aren't horror movies. And I had someone ask me about like Gremlins or Die Hard. I'm like, no, because those are ones that everyone kind of knows. We know those are Christmas movies. These are kind of the lesser known movies that you can add to your repertoire at Christmas. But that's all from me. Merry Christmas. In a world where you can be anything at all, just be nice. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one.